begin to tell you how honored I am to be here with you today. It is my great pleasure, number one, to see Pam again and to meet so many of her friends here. So it's my great pleasure to do that. I want to start with a story about, as Pam mentioned, I have two daughters. I have two adopted daughters, and they are now 33 and 30. But when my youngest daughter, Julianne, started kindergarten, I remember I was a typical kindergarten parent. I was a typical kindergarten mom. I went to the school, I found her cubby, I introduced her to a teacher, I saw who was going to be in her class. I did all of those things. And so the first day, I take Julianne to school, and we drop her off. We go to the classroom, and she comes home that day. And I look at her, and I say, Jules, how was school? And she looks at me, she goes, Mom, it was great. I loved it. And I look at her, and I'm thinking, okay, this is good. Things are good. This is good. This is how we want this to be. What are you doing? You want me to stand here? It ain't gonna happen. I cannot read that. Stand out here to be filmed. This is never going to work. I just have to tell you, you might take it off the stand. Okay, all right. We'll give it a try. We'll give it a try and see how this goes. Usually I'm there touching you and hugging you and everything else, which we will get to by the end, whether it gets filmed or not. So anyway, Jules comes home, great day at kindergarten. The next day, the alarm goes off. And I walk in her room and I say, Jules, it's time to wake up. It's time for school. And she rolls over with these sleepy little eyes, and she looks at me and she goes, what, again? So every once in a while, when I am the sixth speaker on resiliency and you're eating lunch and I follow the fabulous doctor, I'm hoping you're not sitting there thinking, what again? So they couldn't have made it any harder, let me say, until they told me I had to stand here. So we're going to give this a go and see how it goes. I recently moved to a new home. And when I was moving, I found some things on public speaking that I had saved, for 32 years in my home. Let me tell you, all those things you think your kids are going to want when they grow up, go ahead and get rid of them now. They do not want them. But one of these, I came across this sheet of paper, and it says, you want people to remember things when they leave your presentation. And they give this as an example. An ostrich's eye is bigger than its brain. So if you don't remember anything else from my presentation, I am hoping that you will remember that an ostrich's eye is bigger than its brain. And I can tell you from sitting in this room this morning that there are a lot of brains bigger than eyes. I have never seen a smarter, more prestigious group of speakers in my entire life. So that's not the case. But at the end, one of you kids that are in here, I'm going to come back and ask you who remembers that. So don't forget. That's your thought to remember. Let me tell you a little bit about my story, because you're going, how'd she get here, by the way? How did Cindy end up being our speaker today during lunch? Well, this is me. This is my husband and I in 1977. And I still have this same husband, I might add. It's the night we stood on the altar and vowed to love each other in sickness and in health. Now, I can tell you, up until that point, our relationship, and we had dated since high school, I am extremely, extremely competitive, very athletic, and very competitive. As a matter of fact, when I started dating, I don't know what your mothers told you when you started dating, but my mother's sage advice to me when I started dating was, don't beat the boys at sports, you'll never get a husband, okay? So that should give you a clue where we were standing. Finally, after we got engaged, I go, let's go play tennis again. I'm gonna beat you this time. So that was 1977. We were standing on that altar and we were looking forward to our Plan A life together. This was the life of every expectation being met. A house full of kids, happily ever after, all of these things. This was the vision we had, and this was the expectation we had for life from that point forward. Fast forward 3 years, and I'm sitting on the white crinkly paper in the doctor's office, and the doctor walks in and says, Cindy, you have systemic lupus erythematosus. Now, if you're anything like me, I had never heard of it. I had no idea what it was. All I knew was that I had gone from being able to run 9-mile road races and win my class on the weekends to barely being able to walk to the mailbox. There was extreme fatigue, extreme joint pain, and I can tell you that in that moment of diagnosis, our Plan A life moved to a Plan B life. And that's what I've learned with all of us that have health challenges and that are living with health challenges or loving someone who's living with health challenges every single day. It probably wasn't your Plan A expectation. And what I tell people about lupus is I say, I'm not here to tell you how wonderful it is. You know, we hear people say how some things are a gift. And I'm like, well, I'd return this one the day after Christmas. But it's what it is. And we don't have the option of returning it the day after Christmas. So what I've set about doing for the past 30 years is deciding, how do I live a fulfilling life despite the fact I have a chronic and at times very, very serious and challenging health condition. And I think that's probably what many of you have struggled with as well. What happens when we go through change, and when I talk about change, change is usually external events, things that happen externally, and Barbara was talking about internal and external earlier. But transition is that internal process that we go through when we realize that life may not be exactly what we expected. And you know, the more I travel around and the more I talk to people, which is the gift of my illness, it is the people I meet, is that we're all on this journey of figuring out how to live the best life possible, because some of the things aren't going to change. So how do we incorporate it into our Plan B? What happens when we go from Plan A to Plan B is we have an ending. We have a letting go of our expectations of plan A. I mean, seriously, I had envisioned 30 years of beating my husband at tennis. You know, that was what I stood there thinking, this is going to be great. We then move into a period where sometimes we'll go through the stages of grief. I lost the mic. I don't think it's a problem. Or rather that, I might have to come closer. I don't know. There, it's back. What is it? Oh, the powers? Yeah, because I've lost it again. Oh, and the lights flickered. There we go. Okay. Yeah, welcome to Oklahoma. Thank you. I should tell you this about lupus, too. One of the things with lupus is there's something called a lupus fog, where you don't remember everything. So every time we're doing this, I'm having to stop and think again. Now, where was I? So just bear with me. It comes back up, the train of thought. So we go through that gap stage, and we create our new normal. We get to a point of acceptance. And let me be very, very clear about acceptance. It doesn't mean you like it, okay? People mistake liking something for accepting something. I don't like having lupus. I'm guessing those of you with bladder exstrophy may not like it, but it is what it is. That's acceptance. And what I've learned is once we get to that point of acceptance, we stop spending our energy fighting it, not wanting to have it, not all of that. Once we can accept it, we can then move forward with looking for things that make us happy and looking for the good things in our lives because they're there. When we talk about resiliency, and you've seen lots on resiliency today, what again? Okay. I have to share this picture because this is my model for resiliency. This is my 88-year-old mother. Obviously, I look like my dad. This is my 88-year-old mother who just underwent a double mastectomy in June for a reoccurrence of breast cancer, and this was 2 months later. So to me, that's what resiliency looks like. And since I get to be a speaker today, I decided that I would define it myself. So resiliency to me is learning to unleash your unsinkable spirit, because it's our spirit and how we live with these challenges is what we're really talking about. It's how do I still find the things that are good, and how do I learn to embrace plan B? Because I can tell you one of the coolest things of all is that despite the fact that we may not like what we have, and we wouldn't have put it on any kind of Christmas or holiday list probably as something we wanted, look at all the people you're meeting because of it. Look around the room, and it's what I always think about. These are the relationships that wouldn't be there if it weren't for that condition. And very often, these relationships end up being some of the most important in our lives, the most important and the most meaningful. Okay. When we go through that change, or when things do not go as we expect them to go, we have two choices. Every day, every moment of every day. I feel like I'm on a leash. I am going to walk up there and hug somebody just because. Here's the choice we have. Every day. And this man right here, he makes that choice every single day. I loved hearing Leaf speak. I loved it because every day we get to decide, are we going to be bitter about what's happened? Are we going to be better? And you've chosen better.
So is pretty much everyone
In here, and we're choosing better. But you know what? Sometimes we forget. We forget that we have that choice. That's the choice we get to make. We can't decide whether or not to have the condition. We can't decide. We can't give it back. We can't do those things. But we can decide every day, am I going to be bitter about this? Am I going to spend my energy every day being angry and resentful about this? Or am I going to go, and as a plaque on my wall says, make a life that you love to look at? And those are the choices that we do have. So I love that. I love, Thomas, are you in here? Thomas that I talked to at dinner and last night, I don't see you. I was talking to him this morning about his dreams. Where are you? There you are. There you are. And thanks for sharing. And thank you, Cindy, for sharing my story with everyone. But when we're talking about his dreams, biomedical engineering, right? Did I get it right? Think of that dream. Think of that dream. That's what he's focusing on. I love that. Despite bladder exstrophy, which I learned has an S in it. I didn't know it had an S in it when I started. When I was asked to come and speak, I did not know there was an S. So that was my learning. So every day, that's the decision you get to make. And I was so excited when I heard there were going to be young people in here. I added a few Dr. Seuss, and not because necessarily I thought the kids would love it, but it was a great excuse for me to add it because I love it. So can you read that one for me, Lily? You just happen to That's what I usually do. Can you read it? What does it say?
Like the orange?
All the way down.
Okay.
You
You have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose.
Thank you, my dear. Yeah, we get to steer ourselves in the direction we choose. And I see people so often forget about the power they have to choose. We do get to choose our attitude. How many people in here like football? Well, you heard I love college football. I love college football. And do I have anybody that went to the University of Florida in here by any chance? Do I have anyone? Oh, I see some people going, yeah, I knew I loved y'all. I knew it. Yeah, I'm a big Florida State fan.
Be careful, you're in Oklahoma.
Okay. And when I shared with my husband that I was looking out my hotel window at an OU banner on the life, he goes, oh goodness, I remember some ugly Orange Bowls. We were there, yes. I thought, I never want to hear the song Oklahoma again. But yeah, so what I've learned, and you know what I love about football? This game was 27-0 at the half, and the team in Florida State came back and tied it with our biggest rival, 31-31. And you know what? At the halftime, the coach doesn't go in the locker room and say, okay, we're down by 27 points. Let's give this one up and go home. They don't do that. There is no giving up. And that's what people ask me about. They'll say, Cindy, how do you keep going? How do you, I mean, I can tell you that I've knocked on the door upstairs 3 times, and 3 times have been sent back from horrible infections and gotten a second chance or a third chance at this life. So giving up, the one thing I think about all the time, I take giving up off the table as an option. It's not an option. So what are we talking about when we talk about resiliency? We're talking about personal strengths. And personal strengths fall into several categories. Now, I wasn't given enough time today to go through all of the categories. Okay, that would be a very long conference. But so I've chosen a few of them that I want to talk about. Caring, humor, optimism, and hope. And I can tell you that if you look at them, there are things like altruism. We were talking about this on the plane yesterday. Have you ever tried to feel sorry for yourself when you're helping somebody else? It's almost impossible. It's almost impossible to do. You'll also notice on this list is mindfulness. Now, lest there be any confusion around this, I'm a big believer in we often teach what we most need to learn. I've done yoga for a very long time, for a long, long time. Mindfulness and meditation came a bit harder to me. I'm working on it. But how many people in here have ever made a New Year's resolution? Anybody ever made a New Year's resolution? Okay, mine was that I was going to meditate. I was going to start meditation. So January 1st, I wake up. I said, well, I better do it before I get very far. So I cross my legs, and I sit on my bed, and I close my eyes, and I try to clear my mind. And then I think, oh, I'm sure that was long enough. I open my eyes, thinking it's been 15 minutes or so, and it was 1.5 minutes. So I realized I had a little ways to go, and I actually talked about it on my Facebook page one day. And someone posted this on my page. It says, come on, inner peace, I don't have all day. Okay, so that's kind of my take, and that's one of them that I'm working on, because I can tell you that I do see the benefits. Now let's talk about optimism, because life looks better when we're optimistic, okay? Optimism is a tendency to expect the best. Does anyone know what Tiggers say? Tigger, you are just so dying to help me, and you are just so cute that, can you tell, what's your name? Catherine? Well, this is my helper, Catherine. And Catherine, do you know what Tiggers say? Tiggers can do.
They can jump really high and they say, woo!
That's way better than I could have done. Yeah, because Tiggers can do anything, right? Tiggers are optimistic. But then there's poor old Eeyore. Anybody know what Eeyore says? Oh, bother. Oh, bother. So Eeyore is more of a pessimist than an optimist. So here's the very cool thing about optimism. it can be learned and improved. Because we all start, okay, let me come back down here without falling. Okay, we all have a set point for happiness. We lean towards being optimistic, or we lean towards being more pessimistic. We lean towards seeing the glass as half full, or we see the glass as half empty. Some of that is genetic. That's genetic. But the cool thing is that we can work from there to change it. Now, I am incredibly, incredibly blessed in this department because my parents are both optimistic. And to give you an idea of how optimistic, my father, at 87 years old, bought a new car, but wait, bought the 10-year extended warranty. So yeah, I come by optimism naturally. If you're not as blessed in that department as I am, here are the ways to improve it. And we're going to talk about these. Believe that the best is possible. Give up worrying about the future. Practice positive self-talk and view setbacks as temporary. Now, the first one about believing the best is possible. I go through life believing the best is possible. Now, I'm going to give you an example from yesterday. I got a note from Pam that told me that Doug and I were on the same flight. Doug and I went to, and the email says, Cindy and Doug, you're on the same flight. You'll like each other. I went to India with Doug. I'll pick you up at the airport, Pam. Okay, I can go with that. So I'm in, how many people have ever flown through the Atlanta airport? Anybody ever been in the Atlanta airport? I would hate to think how many people there are in the Atlanta airport. And at our gate, there is, as always, a full plane load of people. So I'm standing there trying to decide which one might be Doug. Fully expecting to find Doug. So here's what, my clues. I'm thinking it's a man, because his name is Doug. And I'm thinking, well, he's a doctor. He's been to India with them. Perhaps he's not right out of medical school, because I don't know that they'd let them go. Okay? So I start looking around. I eliminate the men in sandals and shorts with their family traveling on vacation. I said, no, it's probably not them. Then I start looking a little further, and I see a man in running shoes. I'm thinking, might be healthy. It's a doctor, might be healthy. Drinking water, good clue. Wearing a jacket because we're coming to a conference. So I've now got it narrowed down to two. I've gotten it narrowed down to about two people. They call us to get on the plane. I don't walk up to them. I don't see it. I don't say anything. I get on late because I'm a, D minus or whatever that boarding group is. And I get on the plane and I have a middle seat and I sit down. There's one of the men that I'd narrowed it down to. I look at him and I go, "Are you Doug?" He looks at me, startled. And he goes, "Yes." I go, "I'm Cindy. Meet Dr. Doug Canning, my seatmate." I I didn't even know his last name until later in the day. And then Pam texts and goes, okay, I'll pick you up. I go, there are 2 more doctors on the plane. She goes, Dr. Gerhardt and Dr. DiCarlo. I go, I don't know. Doug said he was meeting John and Heather. I go, I don't know any of their last names, but I think I've rounded up 3 of them. So that's kind of how I go through life. And I'm telling my husband this story. He's going, doesn't surprise me in the least. Okay, so let's talk about it for just a minute. Our frontal lobe. Did you know that we are the only animals that think about the future the way that we do? How many of you have pets? Dogs, cats? They do not worry about the future like we do. They do not sit wide awake at night worrying about what might happen tomorrow. I don't know about you, but my dog puts himself to bed at 9:15 every night. Every night. So they don't do this. But we do this because we have this special capacity in our frontal lobe. So what we do with that special capacity is often spend time worrying about future events. And I've seen this fear is future events appearing real. And we convince ourselves that something's going to happen. How many people in here are worriers? You worry. Come on, I bet there are more of you than that. Go ahead. There are usually a lot of people who worry. Okay, my daughter's a worrier, my oldest daughter. We will drive past an amusement park, and my oldest daughter will look at that amusement park and say, I bet you there's a loose bolt in there somewhere. I, however, am on the roller coaster. But that's what we do. And what happens when we do this is we lose the joy of today. And I know, and there were not a lot of hands, but I would be willing to bet that there is time in your family spent worrying about what might happen in the future to you, to your child, to your spouse, that you spend time worrying about that. It doesn't change the outcome. It's like carrying your umbrella, so that it doesn't rain. It doesn't change the outcome, but what happens is we lose some of the beauty in our current time. So part of what I've learned is the importance of staying in the present and being present to those we love. The more I worry about the future, the harder life is. The more I stay in the present, the happier I am. Okay, I'm assuming we all have voices in our head that it's not just me. It might be. It could be, but we all have it. And one of the ways to practice optimism is to monitor that self-talk. What are the things you say to yourself? What are they? When your mind starts drifting to the future, catastrophizing, what do you say to yourself to stop it? Because that's one of the things I had to learn. I knew I did it, but what was I going to do about it? And so what I figured out is that it's all about what I say to myself. I tried the exercise thing. Let me go, for a walk. I used to run, but now I walk. Let me go for a walk and forget about this. Well, I would find myself storming through the neighborhood faster and faster. So that did not work for me. What does work is self-talk. When my mind starts to drift to the future and worrying about things that may or may not happen, I say to myself, not helpful. Not helpful, Cindy. Not helpful. And it works really well for me at 3 a.m. because there are things I can worry about when I wake up in the middle of the night that they would not be a concern in the daylight. But they seem really big in the middle of the night by myself. So saying to myself over and over, not helpful. If you can find something that you can say to yourself to reset those negative thoughts or those fears of what might happen, you'll find you'll be happier. So not helpful, Cindy. Okay, care and support. How many people are in this room because you love someone who suffers from the chronic health condition? How many of you are here because of that? Okay, that's why you're in the room. Well, first of all, you get a huge round of applause from me. First of all, that's the first thing, because what I can tell you is it's not easy to see someone you love hurting. It's not easy. It's not easy. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I'll tell you a story. One day, I was given a medication to treat my lupus that it made me really, really sick. Really, really sick. And I'd been up all night throwing up. I was really, really sick. And I woke up the next morning and I couldn't get out of bed. I mean, I was really bad. And my mother came over. And my mother throws open the blinds. Remember I said we're optimistic in our family. She opens the blinds and she hands me a gift. Now, I can barely sit up. So, did I need a gift in that moment? Probably not. Probably not. A gift was not exactly what I needed. But that was my mother's way of showing me she loves me. Because we all have different ways of showing it. If you haven't ever read the book, The 5 Languages of Love, it's fabulous. It's fabulous because what we do is generally we show love to others in the way we like to receive it. And it's not always exactly on the mark. And we sometimes end up getting a bit upset about that. So I opened the gift, and it was this bracelet. That's what it was. It was this bracelet. What I learned in that moment is people that love us in the best way they know how. Not always exactly what we need, but it's often the best way they know how to show it. And I've learned over the years to try to be a little more appreciative of that. And as Barbara was talking earlier, that's part of the communication that we learn. Because I can tell you, my husband's initial reaction to my illness is anger. And we went through a lot of counseling to learn to work through that so that we could get to this point of being married almost 40 years, because it's not easy. And we all have different thoughts and different ideas. For support givers, when we're upset, whether it's a spouse, a child, here are the things that go on when we're upset, frustrated, hurting. The main thing I can tell you to do is listen. So often we just want to be heard. I just want to say, this is how I'm feeling. And it's funny, I've now started with my husband and I'll say, I'm not looking for you to fix this. I just need to share it. And the other thing I've learned is sometimes to call my best friend, because she's great at listening too. So to listen, not try to fix the pain or minimize it, because it's okay to be afraid. It's okay. Those emotions are okay. okay. It's just what we do with them. Do not offer advice, and love us, especially when we feel unlovable, because there are days that all of us feel unlovable. So I want to talk briefly, and I want to talk about hope. And I have to tell you that when I was standing in the back, because I have horrendous joint problems, so spine and all kinds of things. My scars are just in different places than yours, I can tell you. They're located differently. So I was standing in the back when I heard Dr. Gerhardt and Dr. DiCarlo speaking, Heather and John to me, from yesterday. But when I heard them speaking, there is great hope. There is great hope for your condition. And I hope that all of you heard that, because one of the most important things we can do is to keep hope alive. To keep hope alive, not because it's easy when we're dealing with chronic health challenges to slide into depression. It's easy for that to happen. And I know, because I like to move around, I know that after many of my surgeries, I can't do that. And I will say to my husband, it's really important that we think of things that I can do, focus on what I can do, not what I can't do, so that I don't get depressed. So it's really important to do that. And I'll tell you, my favorite story of hope is, this is Stephen, and I used to have a lot of problems with my eyes, a lot of problems, like I almost lost my vision. I had a lot of problems with my eyes, and I would go to the eye doctor a lot. And I was at the eye doctor one day, and after they had dilated my eyes and checked my eyes, I went to the counter to check out. And I'm standing at this high Formica cabinet, countertop, which I kind of think must be ophthalmologists' sense of humor, because at first they dilate your eyes, then they have you come to the counter to schedule your next appointment and pay them. While I'm bumbling around trying to find my way around, I'm like, whose cruel humor is this? So the lady behind the counter says, "Were you good? Were you good?" And I'm thinking, I'm standing there thinking, I finally look at her and I go, "Well, yeah, I was good. I was good." She starts laughing, and she kind of looks behind me. And behind me is a man holding a little boy with very thick glasses. And I turned around and I started talking to the little boy. And I said, "What's your name?" And he said, "My name is Stephen." And next to the counter, there is a plastic dog, a plastic Labrador, with a slit in its head where you could put money in for the Southeast Guide Dogs, which is located right outside Tampa. And the little boy's squirming to get down to play with this dog. And so finally, I look at Stephen and I say, "Stephen, do you have a dog?" And he looks at me with these big brown eyes and he goes, "Not yet." That's hope. And that's what we hold on to. Do we have a cure? Not yet. But from what I saw this morning, for what's coming on your horizon, and for the incredible intelligence and compassion of the people and the doctors working so hard on your behalf, what I'm leaving the conference with is great hope. Great hope for each and every one of you, and great hope that you can find your happiness as well. I have One more. Do I have any young people? Come help me. You want to talk about hope? Wait till you see who's going to come read. Is she coming? Are you coming? Come on. Come on. Come on. What's your name?
My name is Eliana.
Tell them what your name is.
My name is Eliana.
Ileana, can you read? Mm-hmm. How old are you? 6. Okay, we're going to give it a try. See what it's like from down here? It's a little different from down here, isn't it? Do you like Dr. Seuss? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. We're on the same page then. Okay. Can you read that? Do you think it's kind of hard to see and read?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're of two great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way.
Is that amazing? You know what? I've decided when I've been sitting here that there may have been some issues with the bladder, but they gave you extra brains. I have just decided from meeting all of you, you are wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. I have one more thing I'm going to read to you, to those of you who are adults and children and young people. I've decided I never want to grow up. Here it is. And here's what I wish for each of you. That each of you may live with intention, walk to the edge, listen hard, practice wellness, play with abandon, laugh, choose with no regret, appreciate your friends, continue to learn, do what you love, and live as if this is all there is. Thank you.